Hello, I'm Dynast Amir.
So I reached out to another friend of mine. I said, look, I need to go on vacation somewhere. Where should I go? He said, go to Africa. And not only am I going to go, I'm going to explore a new country. So I went to Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, Mali, Senegal, Morocco, Liberia, Namibia, Kenya, the Voodoo Festival in Ouida, Gambia, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria. It's been a beautiful experience, just learning more about our culture, our indigenous culture. So Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. I'm in search of my roots. In finding that, I would experience my Uhuru, which is freedom.
Till next time, Dynast Amir, I'm out.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope your Sunday is going well. Do me a favor, as you come to the chat room, please hit the like button again. Please hit the like button as you come into the chat room. A couple of announcements before we get started. If you have not bought the documentary In Search of Uhuru, again, if you have not bought the documentary In Search of Uhuru, please make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com. Again, please make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. Again, please make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. We would greatly appreciate it. Again, please go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. Also, tours. We are still rolling to Sierra Leone next month. Man, we'll leave in about 34 days, I guess, roughly, something like that. A little bit over a month. We are heading to Sierra Leone, and I should have one more spot left. I got one more spot left. So if you're interested in traveling with us to Sierra Leone, please go to donfo.africa. Again, please visit donfo.africa to learn more. Also, citizenship is available to those who qualify. Again, citizenship is available to those who qualify. This right here is available to those who qualify. November 20th through December 3rd coming up. So please go to donfo, DANFO.Africa to learn more. Again, please go to donfo, DANFO.Africa to learn more. I will greatly appreciate it. Listen, we're going to jump right into it. We have the Mexican condor. He's in the back, I guess, the waiting room, whatever you want to call it. And we're just going to have an honest discussion in regards to what recently took place in LA, the LA City Council. The hot mic or the recording that was leaked of a conversation between council city members who were Democrat, who were speaking very candidly on how they feel about the Black community and other communities and whatnot. Also, we're going to talk about the so-called Black and Brown coalition, on how for some reason this Black and Brown coalition is being heavily pushed by the Black community but it's not being reciprocated by the Latino or the brown community. We're going to get into that. And then we're also going to discuss, Black people in America we're the only demographic that majority votes for one party, the Democratic Party. But if you notice, amongst Latino Americans, their voting is starting to split, almost 50-50. And same with other communities. So, we're going to get into why, why is the Latino vote split? The Latino vote split, but for some reason, Black people keep voting for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party gets the majority of the Black vote. So we will go ahead and bring on the Mexican Condor. Can you hear me?
Oh, hey, Dynast, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I'm looking forward to have a riveting dialogue with y'all.
Well, yeah, I think this is important. We got to have this dialogue, especially what happened in LA last week in regards to the this leaked conversation that was going on between council members. So I think it's important because Mexican Condor, for some reason, whenever we talk about racism being attached to a certain political party, is these racist Republicans, these racist MAGA Republicans, they're the racists. But I grew up in California. I lived in LA, and I'll be honest, living in LA and living in the South. So I went to the University of Georgia. Was in Georgia from 2000 to 2008. Then I moved to LA, but I was born and raised in Sacramento, California. And I tell people, I experienced the most racism in LA, so-called liberal, progressive LA, than I did in the South. I experienced more racism in LA than I did in the South. And I'll be honest, from my experience, the majority of the racism came from the Korean community when I was in LA. I mean, a little bit from the Latino community, but not that much. But it was from the Korean community. But when I lived in the South, I had no issues at all. Because they push that, these rednecks in the South, they're the problem. And, these racist Republicans. But I had the most racist encounters I had was from Asian cops in the Asian community, here and there from the Latino community, but it wasn't that bad. But even then, what I noticed in LA, again, they pushed this Black and brown coalition, and Black people were the ones like leading that, but it's not reciprocated from other minority groups. When I experienced in LA, here's another thing. LA was the most segregated place I ever lived in, more than the South. Latinos had their own community, Asians had their own community, so it was very, very segregated, so it wasn't this minority liberal utopia like a lot of people like try to make it seem. And then he mixed the homelessness and the poverty. LA was off the chain. But Mexicano, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right into it.
Okay, well, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about my background in case anyone decides to question my Mexican credibility. I was born in the state of Zacatecas in Mexico. We immigrated to the United States in the trunk of a Pontiac Catalina. And thank God for Ronald Reagan, who passed an amnesty bill, which allowed me to eventually acquire American citizenship. So, and I grew up in the Central Valley of California, working basically in the same fields as Cesar Chavez. So I'm as Mexican as you can possibly be. We're not going to find anyone that's more Mexican than I am. So with that being said, as it regards the so-called Black-Brown Alliance, apparently we didn't get the memo.
Hold on, repeat that. I need you to repeat that again.
Apparently, we did not get the memo. It's news to us. It's entirely a fiction created by the media. It's not that we're antagonistic. It's not that at all. It's just that we're like two ships passing in the night. We're looking out for our family, our interests, our future, and we're not really thinking about who else is out there in the dark. So that being said, you have your interests and we have ours, and they're not always compatible. Like, let me give you an example. One of the reasons that so many Mexicans are turning Republican because the border is absolutely out of control.
Mexicander, and let me interject real quick. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I apologize. So you came here from Mexico in the back of a Pontiac. You said I forgot what kind of vehicle was it? I think you mentioned
Catalina.
Catalina. All right. So you came in the trunk of a Catalina.
Oh yes.
So now,
I'm going to be completely honest and open about that. A lot of Mexicans will kind of, put that on a DL and not talk about it, but that's the honest truth.
Okay. So you came to America in the similar fashion that a lot of Mexicans are coming to America, kind of similar. But then you mentioned that a lot of Mexicans and Latinos in general are starting to vote Republican because of the border. Some people would say that's hypocritical. Can you go into detail on why a lot of Hispanics are starting to vote Republican because of the border when you kind of came here in a similar fashion as other Latinos?
Well, I know on the surface it sounds like a hypocritical stance, but you have to realize most Mexicans don't come here with the intention of staying here. They come with the intention of making some money and going back. But the situation in Mexico is so dire that and no one's addressing it. And when you have an open border, it fuels the corruption, it fuels the cartels, it fuels the sex trafficking, it fuels abuses against women and children, and no one is doing anything to stop it. I mean, you have an out of control fentanyl crisis. What is that doing to the urban cities? If you think crack was bad, fentanyl is like thermonuclear versus Hiroshima.
Okay. So you're saying so what's coming and what's being smuggled through the border now wasn't as bad or as worse versus when you came over. Is that what you're saying as far as the border?
Well, so back in the 70s, the cartels did not have power over the military. The politicians would sometimes they would strong arm their cartels for kickbacks and whatnot, but the state was firmly in control. Now what we have is a narco-terrorist. There is no functional federal government in Mexico anymore. It's all been separated into and the cartel leaders are basically warlords, and they've divided the country. That's what you have now.
Okay. Now there was an article published how a lot of gringos are starting to leave America and relocate to Mexico. What are your thoughts on that? Well, white folks are starting to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the media take on it is mostly hogwash because they're talking about specific neighborhoods in Mexico City that are already expensive even by American standards. So no, they're not pushing out the average Mexican. The average Mexican can't afford to live there. They're either now or then.
Okay. So back to the Black and Brown Coalition. Why is it so one-sided, and why do you think the media, especially Black talking heads and white liberals, why are they pushing this?
Why are they pushing this? They're pushing the impression that we can all fit under the same umbrella, and it's just not true. I mean, you can't. We have a housing crisis in California. It's a housing crisis that's spreading across the nation. You can't just allow more people to come in without also accommodating them with more housing, and it's out of control. And and I don't see anybody doing anything to change that.
Okay. Now let me turn my phone down. I'm sorry. Now, as far as all right, the Latino, the council members, all right, that made the racist comments, they were talking about everybody, black folks, other Mexicans. I'm noticing that the Democratic Party is trying to the kind of make it they're trying to hide the fact that this was like these were Democrats who were saying that within their own party and trying to hide their racism in their own party and trying to suppress the story or change and hide that part of the narrative.
Well,
What are your thoughts on that?
okay. Well, I think it's important to put it into context and
Mhm.
let's observe about people in general. People harbor ugly thoughts, and when they think nobody's listening, sometimes they voice those ugly thoughts. And I think that they obviously did not know that they were being recorded, and they let their hair down. So, I mean, people have ugly thoughts across all domains. I mean, however, I mean, we recognize them as what they are. We don't Latinos don't put politicians on a pedestal. We recognize
Okay.
them for what they are. They are simply opportunists. Those people got themselves into these cushy positions because they know if I get the Democratic nomination and I have a Spanish last name, I'm virtually guaranteed to win with no real effort whatsoever. I don't have to build anything. I don't have to really invest my life into a business or into a career. I can win a popularity contest and I'm good.
All right. So, do you think Latinos take politics as serious or look up to their or hold their politicians to the high a high pedestal like the same manner that black people do here in America?
Absolutely not. Because we have, we come from a culture of political corruption. So we are very sardonic about how we see politicians. Like,
Mm.
for example, the former mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa. He was Tony Villar to everybody until he decided to get into politics.
Tony Dillard,
Tony Villar.
Tony Villar.
Yeah, that's who he
Okay.
was to everybody until he decided to become a politician. Then he became Antonio.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay, so you had the okay, got you. Got you. Mm, Guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button as you come to the chat room again. Please hit the like button as you come into the chat room. Now, let's get back to Hispanics starting to vote more Republican. All right. Like I said, to some, it will seem hypocritical because a lot of Hispanics came to America via immigration, whether legal or illegal. And then now they're saying that they're tired of what's going on happening at the border. Why do you, if that's the case, why do you think Democrats still, if the majority or even half of of the Latinos who are coming across the border, it's a chance that they will vote Republican and not Democrat? Why do you think Democrats still have these, I guess, open border, open door policies when it comes to the border?
Well, because they don't know us very well, frankly. They take us for granted, just like they take the black vote for granted. I mean, Cubans and Mexicans are not the same. Cubans vote Republican for different reasons than Mexicans. Cubans see encroaching socialism, and they don't want none of that. They already had a taste of that, and and they don't want to see that coming to America. Now,
Hmm.
Mexicans, we're voting Republican because the Democratic Party no longer represents the working class. It represents the interests of coastal elites, of the socially elites. I mean, if you remember, I mean, we voted to allow China into the World Trade Organization, and that eviscerated the manufacturing base in the United States.
Right.
The original intention was that American companies would sell American products in China and vice versa. They weren't counting on American companies ripping up the factory floor and shipping all their equipment to China and 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 basically pulling China up by 100 years and leaving American workers behind.
Mm. So do you think soon that so you have that demographic that votes Republican. What about the other demographic that it's still voting Democrat that they call and I want to add this into this question. Uh Whenever I hear about Hispanics that vote or Latinos that vote Democrat, they're called Latinx. What the hell is a Latinx?
That is a made-up term perpetrated upon us by the white liberals. It didn't come from us. We didn't ask for it. Spanish is Latin. Latin is a 3,000-year-old language. It's the language of the Roman Empire. I mean, what's more indicative of a cultural colonialism than imposing this word on us that we didn't ask for, that violates the grammar of our language?
Mm. Okay. So within the community, when when Latinos hear the term Latinx, they're like, "What is this bullshit?"
Exactly. We didn't ask for it. We don't use it. It's entirely a fabrication of the media.
Oh my god, guys, do me a favor, hit the like button. We'll open up the lines here in about 10 minutes. Now, as far as black from a Latino's perspective, as far as when you see black people vote blue, no matter who, and continually vote Democrat, when I see our conditions in these Democratic ran cities getting worse and worse and worse, it's even starting to happen here in Atlanta. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's the very definition of insanity, is doing the same thing, expecting things to change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's put it another way. Every immigrant group that comes to America rows their banana boat straight to Harvard and leaves the black community behind. You got to change something.
But it seems like we're just brainwashed. I don't know what it is. So do Mexicans who vote Democrat and Mexicans who vote Republicans, do you guys like clash and cancel each other and cut each other off, or do you guys still get along even though you might have differences?
Well, we still go to the same barbecues, and sometimes, you have to be diplomatic. You have to respect that. Yeah, well, he's still my cousin.
Okay.
But I mean, these are discussions that are happening amongst us, but it goes unrecognized by the media.
Mm.
I mean, everyone in my family is voting Republican. We all watch Ben Shapiro.
Okay. Are you in LA or are you in Texas? I'm sorry, are you in California or Texas?
I'm in California.
Are you in the Southern California, Northern California?
Southern California.
Okay. What are your thoughts on like Maxine Waters?
I think she, well, I don't really have any kind thoughts. I mean,
hey, listen, be honest. Be honest.
I think she's looking out for herself. What has she done for the black community that's any different? I mean,
she hasn't done anything since she gave that speech during the LA riots.
Yeah, you're becoming a smaller and less relevant portion of the votes in California every year. You're basically politically, you're almost as irrelevant as the Republican Party.
Right. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Here's a demographic that should be even more alarming. So we're half of the population in Los Angeles,
right.
But you're also outnumbered by Asians.
Correct.
So, I mean, you're fourth in line. What kind of leverage do you have?
None.
And whatever happens in California, it gets replicated across the country generally. So, yeah, expect more of the same.
Somebody in the chat room is asking Dynas, why are you talking with the enemy? Listen, I think conversations like this need to be had. Conversations need to be had. Yeah. Conversations like this need to be had. It's important.
Well, I thank you very much for talking to me because, well, the media doesn't talk to us. I mean, we're half of Los Angeles. You don't see us on television.
Hmm. So this upcoming election for mayor in LA, do you think Karen Bass is going to pull it off? And then if she does, is that a win for the black community? Like how will the black community in LA benefit from Karen Bass being mayor?
How did it benefit from anyone else being mayor? I mean, what do you really expect to change? Let's say you gave her ultimate authority. What could she possibly change to make things better?
Hmm.
I mean, in California, you have a housing crisis. You have to build more. You have to build higher. That's not going to happen because of the interests of the white liberals.
Right. Let me ask: does the Latino community kiss white liberals' ass the same way the black community does? Like, do you see that at all?
I think we've been brand loyal to the Democratic Party for a long time, and I grew up drinking Pepsi, and when I grew up and I was old enough to drink adult beverages, I had to realize, hey, you know what? Coke is where it's at. I mean, you don't want a rum and Pepsi, right?
Right.
So I think there's a lot of it is just the brand loyalty, and without really
I might
looking at
try. I might
the
try that. I might try a rum and Pepsi. I never thought about that. It's always been rum and
um,
Coke.
give it a try. You'll regret it.
Okay, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. So, as far as the future of, from your perspective, from a Latino perspective, the future of black people in LA, or really in California, but more specifically LA. It's weird because at one time, like South Central, Watts, Compton, these were all predominantly black areas at one time. Now they're predominantly Latino.
Well, they were
Um,
meccas of black culture, and they've disappeared. Oakland is no longer uh, an iconic city for the black community. Neither is
right,
Compton. I mean,
right,
maybe Baldwin Hills, but how long is that going to last?
not long, not long. But why are like black? So when black people see this taking place in LA and in the Bay Area, I don't even know if black people even live in San Francisco anymore. Um, why aren't they really, why do they still vote Democrat and not hold their Democratic officials responsible for what's going on in regards to the dwindling numbers of black folks in these cities?
Well, if you identify as the underclass and you identify the Democratic Party as being the representatives of the underclass, uh, it's hard to break that mindset and consider the other option.
Hmm.
And frankly, the Republican Party uh, has done a poor job of outreach. I mean, I used to be a volunteer for the Democratic Party, and when I started having second thoughts about that and reaching out to Republicans, all my interactions with them devolved into solicitations for for contributions. So they didn't
Mhm.
make a real effort to expand their base in California, and now we're seeing the consequences of that.
Okay. Let's see here. I had another question. Guys, what I'll do, I'll put the link in the chat room. And if you guys want to call in and ask a question, you could call in and ask a question. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button. Again, please hit that like button. Once again, do me a favor and hit the like button. And you guys could come in and um and ask a question if you guys would like to call in and ask a question. Let's see here. I'm trying to just read some of these comments. Okay, somebody said illegal immigration ruined these communities. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on illegal immigration affect how it affects the black community?
Well, there's pluses and minuses. Let's address the pluses. Let's address those pluses and minuses. Um, the pluses for the business community is that they get cheap labor. Um, the minus for domestic workers is that illegal immigration puts downward pressure on wages and puts upward pressure on housing at the same time. You're getting pinched from both sides. You're burning the candle at both ends. I mean, then you run out of candle. I mean, do you really want to live with 20 roommates? And
No.
Latin Americans, well, they'll put, to them, it's better than what they came from. So yeah, they'll live 20 to a household if they have to, because it's better than a corrupt system that where you might not even be able to live, where your life is in danger, literally.
Twin Born, he already answered that question. Again, guys, links in the chat room. Links in the chat room.
Oh, and there's one
Did
more
you
factor. There's one more
go
factor I
ahead?
want you to address regarding Latinos.
Go
And
ahead.
Okay, there's a lot of misunderstandings about who we are. So Latin America is about 700 million people across the Western Hemisphere. We are literally half the world. The United States is about 330 million people. So you could have an immigration surge that would totally change the profile of the United States culture and politics. Now, as it regards Mexico specifically, there's a misperception that we're poor. Mexico is not a poor country. It is something like the 12th largest economy. And the unrealized wealth in Mexico is absolutely preposterous. When the Spanish came to Mexico and started exporting gold back to Europe, they brought back so much gold, they caused a collapse in the price of gold. Mexico has so much mineral wealth that it's almost unbelievable. They have so much petroleum wealth. They have 5,000 miles of Pacific and Caribbean coastline. They have everything they need to be a rival of the United States. And that's not going to change. They're not going to, until we force them to change. When Mexicans get frustrated, they just cross the border. They don't demand change in their native Mexico. And that's why the system stays the same. I would love to go back to Mexico. I would love to have a prosperous, safe life in my native Mexico, but that is not possible. If you achieve any kind of success there, you become a target. I mean, what kind of world is that?
Last question, then we'll bring Maurizio on. So Joe Biden, when he was speaking to the like our so-called black leadership, he mentioned how white people are going to become the minority and Latinos are going to become like the majority. I'm sorry, how white people were going to be outnumbered by not minorities, and how Hispanic community is going to be the largest group as far as minorities. And then, which I'm pretty sure Latinos probably already are. But then he said that black people need to pretty much check into Latinos in the Democratic Party, for the most part. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Well, how is that different from saying to the black community, go to the back of the line? You're not our first priority. I mean, how much more plainly can he put it?
Well, how we put it, how we try to romanticize that is black and brown coalition.
Well, it's a one-sided coalition. That's all I can tell you. It's not that we're antagonistic. We're just not really thinking about y'all. We're simply looking out for our own interests. And it's not it's not consciously to subordinate Black America. We're just going where the opportunities are. And since we have basically a wink-wink agreement with the federal government,
well, you said wink-wink agreement. Now finish your statement and get into the wink-wink agreement. Go ahead.
Yeah, the wink-wink agreement is, yeah, we have a border that you're not supposed to cross. Wink-wink. We both know that they're turning a blind eye to it.
Wow. Mauricio, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes. So like I kind of like wanted to say like I agree with what he's saying, only because I'm married to a Mexican woman from Mexico, and all of my in-laws, they are Republican. They listen to Ben Shapiro. They listen to pretty much all of the talking points that he's saying. So I see it happening now. I want to know, what do you think is going to be different for, I guess, for the Latin community, that the Black community didn't experience? Because I think a lot of it is like this wishful thinking, and I just want to know, like, what does he believe that their experience will be overall?
I'm not sure I really understand the question. And how do we think our experience is going to be different? Um, we don't come here with some of the preconceived notions that African Americans have about this country. We're not looking for white supremacists under every pillowcase. We're just going about our business. I'm sure there's white people that don't like us. We don't care.
I need to repeat the white supremacy part, because listen, that Black people swear that, especially on the Republican side, Donald Trump, DeSantis, that they get in power, that there's going to be white supremacists hiding under people's beds when they come back home. But again, every other group, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about business and making a living and doing what they need to do. So
Well,
he makes a great point.
If you walk onto any elite college campus, any Ivy League, any UC California, who are you going to see there? It's Asians. They're hitting the ball out of the park. I mean, they're making white people uncomfortable by their success. Are they worried about white supremacists? No, they're just going for it.
I mean, I think I understand that portion. I'm not saying in that instance. I'm saying, like, I think how I'm trying to explain is, like, Black Americans have been in this country. We've been dealing with this situation for a long period of time. And
Mauricio, I would say this: the last, I would say, 30 years has been self-inflicted. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that a portion of it, to me, like, I feel like when you're like new to something and you don't understand how the system is really running, I think sometimes you can be overconfident and not realize when the alley-oop comes or the uppercut comes. So I just want to see, like,
I see what you're saying. The Mexican economy, I'm gonna add to that. So when Black people come to, immigrants and other minorities, and they say, listen, if it wasn't for us in civil rights, y'all wouldn't have been able to come here anyway. Like, what are your thoughts on that, on comments like that? And then you can answer Maurizio's question too.
Okay, well, to say to that, I would respond, well, does it really matter? It's 2022. We're dealing with the facts on the ground today. I'm glad that there was a civil rights movement. I'm grateful for all that happened. But, I mean, what do you expect from us? We're looking out for our own interests. I mean, I could, we understand all about your history because they clobber us with it on the media all the time. We hear the same narrative you do, but you do not get to hear our narrative at all. And our narrative is, we come from a place where nothing works, everything is corrupt, and we'll tolerate a lot of discomfort to climb the ladder in America because it's better than what we came from.
I get it and I understand. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. I just wonder, because it's like I see and I hear a lot, and sometimes I think as a as a Black person with our like knowing everything in our history and how we've been treated in the country, it's kind of interesting to hear other people's perspective on what they think will happen to them and how they think they'll rise differently.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you some real stuff.
Well, Mexicano, if I can interject real quick, Maurizio. So Joe Biden already said, listen, white people are going to become the minority to the minorities, and Black folks, y'all need to answer to Latinos. So how much clearer can it get? How much more do you want, or do you need to hear?
No, I mean I understand that completely. I'm in agreement. I just think that the issue with like California and stuff like that, when I hear people complaining about it, I really do feel like, Black people, we did this to ourselves. We didn't like when you're trying
Yeah,
to.
I agree. It's self-inflicted. Like I would say the last 30, 40 years is self-inflicted. Like
Yeah.
me personally. Yeah.
Well, I think that's because you can't be all things to everybody. First, you got to take care of yourself first. And then, when you have generosity and overflow, then you can give to others. But I don't know what it is about this, like the Black civil rights community, but it's like they have to rescue the world. You know what I mean? It's like this: save everybody. Don't worry about yourself. If you bleed and your leg cut off, don't worry, it'll get better.
Hey, Marisa, I have a friend, and I brought up like how other groups don't really see us as their allies, right? This coalition. And he said that, and then I asked him, why do we do so much for these other groups and not for us? And you know what he said? He said, this was his exact response. These other groups come from us, so they're like our children, so we need to take care of them. This is the mentality. I kid you not. This is what he said.
Yeah, that's craziness to me.
Well,
Yeah, but
I'd like to address something about the Black community that looking from the outside, and hopefully you'll appreciate it, and hopefully you won't.
no. Go, and listen. Be honest. Don't hold back. Go ahead.
Okay, I think that the Black community has a codependent relationship with the white liberal. So it works this way.
I agree. 155, 2,000%. Go ahead.
White liberals need you to remain an underclass so that they can make movies about inspirational white liberals that go into the Black communities and change things around at the shitty school. It's all performative theater to congratulate themselves. And Black people want to identify with the underclass because when you identify as a victim, you absolve yourself of responsibility and accountability. So you have the freedom of nothing is my fault. So therefore, I can't be held accountable for my shortcomings and my failures. Now, how do you see that? Am I?
No, you're absolutely right. I don't disagree with you.
I agree.
Yeah, I do not disagree. I agree. Bag 761 first. Go ahead.
How's it going, Dynas panel?
Yes, sir.
I see this kind of interesting because if you look at Canada, Canada's ran good. It's a white country. But then when you look at Mexico and you look at South America, it's been destabilized by America for a reason. They're not a white country. So I can't blame Mexicans for coming to the border or South American citizens looking for a better opportunity when the United States directly destabilized their country for a reason. So you don't get in power and ever challenge them, which is kind of interesting how Mexicans are going to wind up becoming the minority in this country. So you look at the border and yes, Republicans and Democrats did benefit as far as like warehouse work, produce fields, but as technology happened, they didn't need as many of them. So they want to like cut back or something like now they want to like throw them under the bus and not use them anymore. But it works as a vote and how can I say it, a divisive tool because they're both benefiting from the Mexican people. So I'm wondering, do you see the fact that Mexico has been destabilized by America, Mexican condor?
Well, I think when you fail to keep other countries accountable, I mean, it's a form of patronizing to say that Mexicans are can't be held accountable for the situation in their own country. Yeah, there's a lot of things that America has done that has had negative ramifications for Latin America. But ultimately, we are sovereign nations and we should be accountable to ourselves. Now, as far as the concept of white identity is concerned regarding Latin America, you have to recognize that Latin America is Western. We are Western societies. We speak Spanish, a Western language. It's a European language. We're predominantly Catholic, practitioners of a European faith based in Rome. So it gets fuzzy. It's not. We're not as divided that way as America. We're Latin America is the true melting pot. I have cousins that look like, indigenous people of Oaxaca, and I also have blue-eyed, blonde-haired cousins. And so it's not as, the divisions between us are not as clear-cut as they are in the United States.
I understand. What do you feel, how do you feel about the LGBTQ and the pushing of it onto all people in this country? How do you think it's going to affect your people?
Well, I don't think it's being pushed. I think it's being. And sorry to interject, Mexican Condor. Do you think that's being pushed more onto Black people than it is Latino people as well? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Go ahead.
Oh, they're pushing it on everybody. We didn't ask for Latinx. That didn't come from us. And now you see it in government forums. Now you see it in the media. And you know what? It makes us wretch, because that's the X may as well be LGBTQX, YZ, whatever, because that's what it is.
See, that's how I look at it like this. Yes, Black people have an issue with they're trying to target Black men and break up our family structure. But this is a plan for everybody. They want to break down the man in every race, white men too, because they were far more gay than Black people ever were. So that's why I was wondering how you looked at it, because I see them as destroying everybody, and they want the man in every race conquered and destroyed. And the only way to do that, one of the ways, is by having you gay. You're not a threat.
Well, I would say that they're trying to emasculate all of us.
I agree.
Let me read the super chat. What do you think are the shared interests with Mexicans and Black Americans? That's one of them. If you want to.
Well, we have shared economic interests. I mean, but that's common across the board. Mm-hmm. I think the outsourcing our manufacturing was a disservice to everybody. And if we're going to outsource, I think it's far more beneficial to outsource to Latin America than it is to China. I mean, if Latin America had a thriving economy, there wouldn't be any illegal immigration, and there would be opportunities for all Americans, African Americans included, to have a quality life in Latin America as well. I think we need to change the axis of east-west to north-south as far as our foreign policy and our economy is concerned.
And then let me read this second super chat. Thoughts on American censors labeling Mexicans as white?
Well, they're going to do that to you whenever you climb out of the bottom of the barrel. As soon as you are no longer think of yourself as a victim and think of yourself as someone that's empowered, that's unfortunately that is reflected in the resentment of those that are still in the bottom of the barrel.
Go ahead, Black Lion. And guys, we'll limit it to 2 questions for everybody. But go ahead, Black Lion.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for laying on the chat. And the thing is, honestly, I have to agree with the dude Mexican Condor. He damn near spoke 100% of the harsh truth that a lot of us in our community kind of fail to see. Like the problem is that, like in those for African Americans particularly, we don't study any other history of any other cultures, and that's the problem. Like what he's saying, the history behind every community and how they feel or anything, it really goes back to their history. Like when he talks about the Black and White Coalition, that is 100% true. That is 100% and 50% true. I'm not, trust me, I'm trying to get where that bullshit come from. The harsh truth is there is no alliance with any other community. Every community is literally in it for themselves. That's it. There's no hocus pocus. That's what it is. And one thing I try to tell like that last brother, Mauricio, when he married that, he's African American with a Mexican sister. Listen, the harsh truth is it doesn't matter if you have friends from Mexico, if you have Mexican friends, a Mexican wife, a Mexican husband, it doesn't fucking matter. No different than a Chinese wife or a Chinese husband or whatever. You are not and will never be accepted into their family or community. That's just a harsh reality. A lot of us need to take it as what it is. That's the harsh reality. I grew up with different cultures of friends for years. And believe me, I got nothing but like at first we were around different cultures as a kid. I didn't, kids, we don't care about racism or anything. We just care about you're a cool person. But then when you start getting involved more, when the friendships evolves and you start being around their families or their community, it doesn't matter if you're not the black stereotype whatsoever. You can be a great individual, perfect, but they will not look at you or see you as not only not one of their own, but they will treat you no different than a white community is. That is the harsh reality. I have what I call what Paul Mooney said, that nigga Waco call for years. It took me years to accept this. You'll never be accepted. You'll never be liked, and they're in it for their own interest. So Mexican Condor saying he's not wrong. They're in it for their community. They're in it for their race. That's it. And the problem with black people is we haven't accepted that. That's the problem. And when you talk about the issues like in California and everything, he's also right about that. One thing you need learn about politics, especially white politicians, they use other races to be the new slaves. Like, look at this. I'm talking to my mother about this, about like economically speaking. Who were the first maids? The African American woman, the African American slaves. They were the first. They were the first butlers, the first waiters, the first nannies and everything. Who's the new buds and nannies now? Mexicans, Latinos, especially from Puerto Rico and Cuba and everywhere. They replaced us. They want the new cheap slaves. So he was right about the economics too. They just want them for cheap. That's the reason why they're getting more of the population, because they're easier to control and they can use their access to America against them in a way. That's what we don't understand. It's all politics. Like I tell the multiple times I tell black people, listen, when we talk about why Chinese people are getting these laws and all this money, it's like, you guys don't understand. White people in the majority of this community do not, I've talked to white people, they do not want Chinese people in this country. The only reason why they want that community in America, only because China, their country, what they associate with, is making 80% of our products for cheap. That's the only reason why they're keeping them here. That's the reason why they got their ass kicked during just for a couple of days or a week or two because of the COVID issue that they brung over here. They protect them because that can affect their economic interest. Trust me, no race. Literally, white people not give a fuck about. White people not give a damn about any race in this country. It's what they're producing. It's what makes them valuable. It's what they can get off of it. Like Mexicans coming with the cheap labor. China's coming with the easy making products. That's the harsh truth. Like Dr. Clark Anthony openly admit, African Americans are the only community who don't produce anything but sweat and consumption. So economically, and white people and white politics eyes, we're useless in America because all we do is consume. We don't produce.
All right, let me read this super chat and then we're gonna pass the mic. I'll let Mexican Condor respond. Not a black person in the room yet. I knew Dynast was going to blame black people for this. Y'all never disappoint. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. But modern Renaissance man, go ahead. And Black Line, I appreciate you coming on, bro. I'm gonna bring somebody else on.
Sure.
You're mute. You gotta go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. I mean, what he just got done saying is absolutely true, and I'm definitely like on the chopping. You can say it's on the chopping block, but it doesn't affect me. So, in case you didn't know, and it's not to just kind of throw things out there about myself. I'm the person that went viral, 81 million views worldwide, because I spoke out against CRT at a school event, and I literally got a chance to sit down and talk with Donald Trump himself and a whole lot of other figures. And one of the things that actually pisses people off is that if they see that, They instantly want to put you and label you Uncle Tom, a sellout, a Porsche Negro, what I get, bootlicker, all these different things like that. But
That's the favorite one, bootlicker. That's the
yeah,
favorite.
and the thing is, I came coming from the hood and only voting for the first time in my life last election. I had no idea what those terms meant, so I couldn't even respond to those accordingly. I was just like, oh, I don't know what they're saying. I don't even care. But my thing is this: yes, what Mexican Condor said is true, but when he mentioned about the victimhood, a lot of people playing the victim game. I think a lot of people get pissed off when you say things like that is because they was, I don't know. Well, the truth is, they actually don't even know that they are playing the victim game. You know what I mean? They don't know that they're playing the victim game. So it's funny that we can be tricked into carrying out what actually would destroy us in the end because these people actually give us crutches. Okay, so one of my degrees in physical therapy, okay? We have patients, okay? If I'm trying to progress a patient to independence, we give them something called the least restrictive device. Let's say a walker, okay? If I have you with a walker and I want you to become independent to be able to walk on your own, the better you get with the walker, I'm going to restrict that away. I'm going to take away the walker. I'm going to give you a quad, a hemi walker, okay? As you get better with the hemi walker, I'm going to take away the hemi walker and give you a quad cane. When you get better with the quad cane, I'm going to take that away and give you a single point cane. When you get real good with the single point cane, we take it away. You have now become independent. Right now, what they're doing with a lot of Black people on a mental, emotional level, they keep on giving you the walker. And we do know in therapy, if you stay with the walker, you're going to become more disabled. You're not going to become stronger. You're not become better. You won't become independent. You're going to become more disabled. You're going to become weaker. The muscles that you would use if you were independent, they don't need to be used now. So why do they have to work? Get what I'm saying? Metaphorically, if you don't have to work because they keep on giving you a crutch, then you're going to keep on feeling like, oh, they're doing me a favor by keep on giving me the walker. Give me the walker. All I need is the walker, because if I let go of the walker, I might have to do something on my own. So in part, yes, they are of a victim mentality, but they don't know they are of a victim mentality because they feel that they're okay because they're safe with that walker that the government keeps giving them. So I don't know necessarily, I was trying to ask in the chat if I necessarily had a question. I just wanted to add to it because one thing that is for sure, man, is that we are absolutely 100% not their priority and will not be. And then once people wake up to realize that, it will be too late. It's already there. It's already there. And people just have a hard time, taking that whooping, man. They have a hard time being disciplined on that because a lot of people are ready to respond because you're calling something out that they're doing versus actually paying attention and listen to what it is that he is saying that actually does make sense. It's more or less, I want to respond and call this Negro out. You might be skin folk, but you ain't kinfolk. Okay, y'all say all that, but what is it that what is it that make me an Uncle Tom? What is it that makes me a sellout? What is it that make me a bootlicker? What is it that I'm saying that's making me all those things? And they can't even give me that.
All right.
I'd rather be defensive and deflect and call you names versus actually listen to what you are saying is actually a remedy to what we have going on with us. So I just wanted to put it in.
You have a question for Mexican Condor or?
Yeah, that's why I said I was trying to ask in the back chat. I was like, I didn't know if this is open for comment or a question, whatever like that. But okay, so Mr. Condor, I would ask you, because a lot of people get mad at this. What do you think Black people right now need to do as a priority?
Right now, well, oh man, there's a lot of things you guys need to do. It's not any one thing. Oh man, it's a long list, man. I mean, from the outsider's perspective, and it's going to be across the board. Other people are going to see it the same way, and maybe not everyone wants to tell you what you need to hear. But focus on the family. Put yourself in second place.
You answered that exactly how I wanted you to. That's all I needed. That's awesome. Perfect answer.
And that's just what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's like Chris Rock said, it's what you're supposed to do. You don't need a pat on the back for that. But the other thing is focus on entrepreneurialism and don't think that any job is above you. For a lot of young men that are starting out in life, we're at a point in history where I would not counsel everyone to go to college. I think Unfortunately, I have to hate to say it, but I think it's a bad idea for a lot of people. However, in the building trades, there's room for everybody. There's room for people who are ex-cons. There's room for people who are college graduates. You get a job on a construction site or with a local contractor. You learn to do the trade. Then you just start doing jobs on the side. Then you can hang your own shingle. It's a great way to for a young man to be able to support himself and to support his family. More importantly.
All right. Just wanted to know from your perspective, even though
all right, I appreciate you coming on, brother. Alex B, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So I've been listening to this to the live, and there's a lot of good points that the Mexican guy made. One particular good point was the when he touched on racial identity in Latin America. Like the other guest said, a problem with Black America is they don't learn about the different societies around the world and how they were, made. So the guy who was talking about how Latin America is brown and like, there's Black people and then there's natives and stuff like that, but they never mentioned the big European population that are in Latin America. So we have a lot of Latin American people that come to the U.S. and a lot of Black people are surprised when they identify as European or as white, and the surprise is kind of gullible because they don't understand that these people are descendants of Europeans that were in Europe before they went to Latin America. So these people who come here to America and identify as white, you expect them to be in some kind of black and brown coalition with you when they don't even identify how you want them to identify. They have a whole other agenda that they have in their own mind that they want to play out. But you're for some reason in your liberal, I guess the best word I can use for this is liberal mindset. You think how you identify them is how they're supposed to be. So now you have this whole people of color coalition where you expect these people to do certain things how you want them to do it, but they have a whole different mindset from what you expect. So I'm glad he cleared up the whole racial identity thing that takes place in Latin America, because there's a lot of Latin American people that are just as who propagate just as extreme white supremacist ideologies as their counterparts in America. And, people don't understand this. So they expect them to, have some kind of, minority kind of mindset.
Well, let me address some of those issues regarding identity politics. We're not brown until we come to the United States. In Mexico, we are Mexicans. We identify with our nationality. And as far as ethnicity is concerned, that is kind of a secondary. It's not really something we really think about all that much. It doesn't become an issue until we come to the United States, where everyone wants to pigeonhole us into one category or another. And where do you go when you are 50% European and 50% Native? How do you categorize a person like that? So, I mean, like, I'm asking. Please let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. I
Yes.
would just say you still know that there's still categories for that in Latin America, such as mestizo, castizo, Zambo. All these other different technical ethnic groups that that do exist in Latin America. There's still racial categories for that.
Yeah, but we're not cognizant of it like all day long, every day.
No, you are. People in Latin America are very cognizant of this.
We don't divide ourselves that way, the way that you think, because everyone, because you can be a very Caucasian in appearance and be 50% Native. You can also be very Native in appearance and be, 50% European. I mean, there's a lot of colorism in television for sure, and that bothers me because it doesn't really reflect the who we. It's not really a fair representation of who Latin Americans are necessarily, but most of the time we are not consumed by identity politics. We're consumed with our economic standing, where we fit economically.
Shaggy Rogers, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Diane. Can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
I just want to come on to speak about the whole black and brown coalition thing. To be honest, I don't think it's really necessary. I think that as people, we get along best in our respective groups. That doesn't mean you can't have friends that are of different ethnicities or date outside of your race or anything like that. But don't expect to be completely accepted or integrated into other people's communities. Because I remember one time I actually dated a Hispanic girl. I remember I was on the phone with her one time. I had her on speaker and she didn't know. And I heard her stepmother in the background. She said, is he dark or whatever? You might not be able to have kids with him. And that shocked me. I was like, damn, man. It's like you see how other people really view you, And it's just like, I don't think the coalition thing is really that necessary. I think we all need to just respect each other and, kind of stay within our own boundaries, to be honest.
Well, I would like to ask the other African Americans on this channel, what exactly does the coalition mean? And what exactly do you expect it would do for you?
I think when they push this coalition, it's like there's a pie, that they're, just imagine there's a pie and, we're going to divide it up evenly amongst all the different groups. I think that's what they mean by like a coalition. Like we're all going to work together and come together united as one.
Towards what goal? I mean, what's the objective? I mean,
well, a lot of times when I hear people use a black and brown coalition, it's and especially whenever I guess Latinos act out, it's we're supposed to be fighting white supremacy together, but you Latinos are acting like the white supremacists. So I guess to fight white supremacy, that's the
white supremacy is a fiction. You know what kind of people identify with that kind of thinking? Poor people with no power whatsoever. Those are the kind of people that identify with white supremacy. It's a boogeyman that doesn't exist. I'm not saying there aren't people that aren't on your side, but they don't matter as much as you think they do. Like the poorest people I've known in my lifetime were broke-ass white people in trailer parks. They have no power.
Let me read this super chat. The man is worried about CRT when the most destructive thing in schools is CGT, critical gender theory. I agree, i.e. feminist studies. Why should white women be placed ahead of black men? I don't know. Pan-Africanism strikes back. Go ahead, bro.
Dynas, all I want to call attention to was everything that you see the black people coming up here talking about is how the white man's doing this or that and how they're the victim of what the white man is doing. You haven't heard one person come up here other than modern Renaissance man who came through and talked about our reaction to what white people are doing. Anybody, they're literally got a guest here who's a very knowledgeable guy, and he happens to be Mexican. They're not asking him, what do you think about the way Hispanics react to attacks and, disenfranchisement by the white power structure, gives them an advantage over the way black people react to it. It's all just doing what we do here. Like this guy doesn't even need to be here. Because all we're doing is what we do every day. Sit up and point out problems, and we want him to join us in sitting up and lamenting the problems. And then when he says, oh, well, this is the case, well, I don't agree. Like you got Alex B. You're disagreeing about a guy about what's going on in Mexico. You're not Mexican. You don't live in Mexico. Probably never been to Mexico. but now you're trying to be the know-it-all authority of what's going on in this guy's country. And that's why these conversations for black people, you could bring the president up in here and it will be useless because we don't want to change our reaction or find solutions. We just want people to join us in bashing the white man for doing this, that, and other. And let me tell you something, and this is my last point. When the guy said, Mexican Condor said, what is the goal, right? You notice it was all silence, right? Because we don't have a goal. Our goal is to gain acceptance from the same white people we claim to dislike. If you look at Martin Luther King, if you look at all our leaders, what have our leaders been leading us towards? Why do we follow them? Because they promised you that they were going to make this white man accept you as his equal so you could go eat cookies and ice cream at the ice cream parlor with Sally Rottencrotch, right? So there is no coalition. The Hispanic is in a damned if you do or damned if you don't position when dealing with when dealing with black people, because they don't realize our goal is to join white supremacy in ruling over them. And we're mad because they won't bend over and let us step on their neck so they can prop us up to reach the white supremacist spaces. So there's no Mexican black coalition. And even if they tried to form one, we would be absolutely useless in that because we would do nothing but sabotage them in exchange for promised or potential white butter biscuits. We can't have a coalition with anyone because we don't even want to fight or gain freedom or independence. We want to be dependent and gain acceptance from whites.
Your thoughts on that, Mexican Condor? Then I'll pass it to Jay to inform it. Go ahead, Mexican Condor.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. Yeah, I think the best advice I can give the African American community is stop caring about this notion of, acceptance. Do for yourself. I mean, if you drive around Los Angeles, how many Mexican restaurants do you see? Thousands.
Ton.
Every
in fact, when I come back to LA, my favorite Mexican restaurant is in Koreatown. It's called Guelaguetza. I miss it.
I've been there. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, you see thousands of Mexican restaurants, and every commercial vehicle, the placards are in Spanish. It's Hernandez Trucking, Jimenez Roofing, and so on. They stop worrying about what white people think and just get to work. That's all we really can do. That's all, and then the future will take care of itself.
He just committed sin in the black community. What? Stop worrying about what white people doing? You just said, man, if you were around a mob of black people right now, they would probably try to lynch you for saying that, because other black people have said that for decades. But black people don't realize our existence has become defined ever since civil rights. Our very existence in this country is defined by acceptance from white people. This is why, Mexican Condor, even being older, the first black civil rights leader, the first black leader you were ever taught about in school, no doubt, was Martin Luther King. Am I wrong or am I right?
Oh yeah, of course. That's universal.
Right. Why? Because that's the guy who that is the guy who programmed black people to believe that white acceptance is the metric for black happiness. That is the only measurable scale by which you can measure black achievement and black happiness. So to say that, don't worry about the white man, that's pretty much like telling us to go kill ourselves in this country, because we don't see nothing outside of that.
Well, I think African Americans could really benefit by traveling and seeing the world. Outside of the United States, you're not black, you're just an American. And I think it would be beneficial for y'all to have a different perspective. And in Latin America, there is an African diaspora in every nation. I mean, you can go and experience that for yourselves, and just and I don't know what you'll take away from it, but I think it's important to expose yourself to something outside of what's of the only world you know.
And leave this good white man.
Hold on, Brandon. Yeah, I mean, like maybe 5% of black people even have passports. But Jay, the informant. Go ahead, Jay. Unmute yourself.
Yo, what's going on, man? How y'all doing, man?
Well, good.
Hey, I would have to say I hate to say this, but I actually agree with everything Pan African Strikes Back. I don't agree with him much, but he made some valid points up here. So did a Mexican Condor. So actually, I would 100% agree on the Martin Luther King thing. I think that the reason that they propagandized him in front of the black community was because of the goals that they wanted the black community to go to, which was white acceptance. And they didn't promote Malcolm X because Malcolm X in a lot of his speeches, whether it was the field Negro versus the house Negro, or whether it was the ballot box or the bullet, or I forgot the other speech he gave. Those were some inspirational speeches, and he called out Malcolm X plenty. I mean, he called out Martin Luther King plenty of time about him being held up by white propagandists to tell the black community the wrong message, and get us to I guess tap dancing for white people and white acceptance and all that. I do believe that that is kind of over. I think that's phasing out, even though you have people like Warnock just trying to invoke Martin Luther King all the time. He's always trying to invoke Martin Luther King. But I actually had a question. I actually for American Condor, with the reverse migration, when it comes to Mexico, I believe. And this is just a personal question for you. I don't know if you actually have a problem with it. Do you have a problem with Americans going to Mexico and increasing buying up a lot of? I would say buying up a lot of territory, like close to the beaches.
Absolutely not. I mean, Mexico has over 5,000 miles of Pacific and Caribbean coastline, and the vast majority of it is undeveloped. There's plenty for everybody.
I just want to know your perspective on that. Okay.
I mean, I would like to buy some beach property myself as well. I mean, if Mexico was a more investor-friendly country with security and a functioning judicial system that ensures that I don't get defrauded, yeah, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I would reverse migrate myself.
Go ahead, Chrissy, and then we'll pass it back to Brandon. Go ahead, Chrissy.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm actually, this is really a good conversation. And Mexican Condor, I wish you could, they could broadcast you on CNN and MSNBC for the Black masses to hear that every community.
Oh man, they listen, Chrissy. Even if they did, Black folks will make every excuse in the book on, how he's a paid agent or. How? Because I mean, dude, listen. Even when it comes to the situation with the LA City Council, like the women, the people were caught on tape saying this stuff, and they are in damage control like a mother. So I mean, I wish he would too, but we're past that point.
Yeah,
the majority of us, we're just past that point. Because again, it all falls back to these Republicans are racist and they're hiding in our pillowcases and they're going to show up at any moment. That's what it falls back to. But go ahead, Chrissy.
Yeah, this fear mentality, because every other community looks out for their community first. Especially when resources get slim, people tend to get very tribal. They look out for who's in their home, and then who else looks like them, who else they have a connection, camaraderie with, culturally, linguistically, etc. We seem to not get that. And what I think is good, even for some folks in the audience to hear as well, is, yes, we know there's no story like the Black story. It's unique to anyone on the planet. There's no story like the Black American story. We know that. We understand the struggles and the hills and the valleys that Black people have had to travel and are still understanding that the residue of that. But we cannot stay stuck just marinating in that. I had a friend who we were caught from college. And we're no longer friends. She actually cut me off. She's FBA, she was a Tariqite. And, she got really wrapped up in this. And it was really one conversation that this, broke the friendship off. But she is an educator and she wanted to, start her own business and start a course, talking about white supremacy, because she feels that, a lot of Black immigrants don't know that they're victims of white supremacy. And she needs to have them understand. She had this mantra, which also said, I'm a victim of white supremacy. I can't live my life with that in my mindset. You know what I'm saying? Do I know that Black people are disadvantaged? Do I know that even when we look at Africa and the Caribbean, are we disadvantaged compared to those who colonize us? Yes, we are. So I understand that dynamic, but I cannot walk through life. I'm a victim of white supremacy. How can I rise? How can I be positive? How can I achieve things if that is swarming in my head all the time? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, there has to be a mental shift. And what I think at first I didn't fully understand the CRT thing, but I do see how it is damaging if it is telling Black kids, hey, you're a victim of white supremacy, and white folk, hey, you're
No,
the whatever.
but Chris, here's my thing with the CRT. The same people
Mhm.
who complain about CRT won't bring up how they're teaching the children in these schools that a boy who identifies as a girl can be a girl now.
Because it all goes together. You know, it's the people who are for CRT are for the whole gender ideology. It's a complete this unraveling, and it's going to do more detriment to Black people, because if we raise our children that you are oppressed, right? We should raise them understanding their history, right? And not just slavery. When I talk to my children about history, I start from the world began. The first people on the planet looked like you, because that's where your history begins in Africa, and the civilizations in Africa. Then I roll down to history. I get there eventually, because it is a snapshot in our global story as a people. But you cannot saturate yourself, in this. I've had folks like, oh, they're in a room, professionally, and they're only a Black person there. They feel uncomfortable. I'm walking around. I don't give a damn. I don't feel uncomfortable. I'm not always thinking, oh, I'm the only Black person here. When you paralyze yourself, you paralyze your ability to be successful. We have to free our minds from this. It's a form of mental slavery, right? So, I mean, Bob Marley said, free your mind from mental slavery. None but ourselves can do it. None of ourselves can free our minds. We have to do that. We understand the context of American history, or wherever you are, but we still have to move forward. We are paralyzing ourselves, worrying about this stuff all the time, and it's unhealthy. And we are going to find ourselves in a permanent underclass position, which is a form of slavery, instead of gathering up with your tribe and working together so you can build like everybody else. So that's all I want to say.
Let me read this super chat. Condor, where are the Black people in Mexico, and why don't more of them immigrate to America?
Well, as far as I'm aware, I know there's a significant African population in Guerrero State, because Mexico also had a colonial slave history as well. Why they don't immigrate to America? I really can't answer that question. I know there's a few of them here in Los Angeles. I know you can look up. There's a couple restaurants you can find that have been reviewed on YouTube. But there's the African diaspora all over Latin America. You can do your research online. You can find them. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Go ahead, Caesar. Or hold on, Brandon. You want to ask something else, Brandon?
Yeah, all I want to say before I get off, Mexican Condor, one thing I believe you can really do to help the Black community is when you interact with your people, Mexican people, I want you to be a person who goes there and sets the record straight. Black Americans do not want to work with Hispanics or Mexicans or Latinx for any real goal, not for prosperity, not for equity, none of these lies that we say. Black people want to use Mexican people as a vehicle for gaining access to white spaces and eventually gaining white acceptance, right? This is why Black people try to recruit Mexicans to the Democratic Party. This is why you got Black people across the country angry with the Mexicans down in Texas for voting for Mayra Flores, a conservative candidate who immigrated from Mexico and could see the forest for the trees and saw that these white liberals don't have the best interest of any working person at heart, right? Texas. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with you. They do not have the interests of working class people of any race or ethnicity. They just do not.
So when you go back to your Mexican brothers and sisters, and I know you get this in your community, man, we need to work with the blacks. You know, they enslaved them. You know, they mistreated them. Yeah, you get all that, the sad story. But you need to tell your people, look, the way we're going to help these people is not by crawling down to their level of victimhood. The way we're going to help these people is not even listening to them unless they make a clear plan, a clear agenda, not written by whites, but written by them. They have written themselves, and they can present that to us, identifying a mutual goal and a mutual benefit, a clear goal and a mutual benefit. Do not, like the brother Renaissance man said, do not give us a walker. Do not give us a 4-point cane. Make us stand up and meet you in the middle. That's how other races can help blacks. That's the only way you can, because you guys face white supremacy by getting off your butt and working. You outwork. It's like a player who can't really play basketball that good, but he can stay on the court because he works hard. Just keep on doing what you're doing and challenge us to get up to your level and work hard for what we want. And then we might be able to do something together. And I'm out.
All right, go ahead, Caesar.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make the point, especially with the title, why is there no black and brown coalition, racism in the Democratic Party? I mean, I think that we're even giving, Latinos a little bit more credit than we're giving them more credit. If you look at the two biggest, it's a numbers question, let's be honest. Texas and California are the two biggest states in the country. Both of them are 40% Latino, 40%, right? So that's such a large voting block, while black people are 5% in California and 12% in Texas, right? So how can there be a black and brown coalition when the other group, is so much larger than the group you're trying to, what do quote unquote brown people need from black people in the state of California if you're already 40% of the population? So that there's a big confusion on black people's power, because even forget about the economics when it's just from numbers, right? They don't even need to build anything. It's just about voting. So I'm confused about why brown people even need black people. And then this whole question of a black and brown, Hispanic people, do they even consider themselves brown? Because according to the US Census, they're white. Most of my Hispanic friends brag about having Spanish ancestry, right? I don't even hear them claim native ancestry. So do these Hispanic people even consider themselves brown? They consider themselves white. They're, according to the US Census, they're white. If you look at the Bush family, they've mostly married Hispanics. So I think black people have they're very confused about their power in this country. So that's what I'll say on that. Yeah.
Well, I would say to that, Latinos are very confused about which race checkbox we're supposed to mark off, because Latino is not a race. And, when you come from a mixed race culture, your only two options are white or Native American. So which do you go with? You tell me. So so if we check on the white checkbox, it's because there really isn't another option. It's the next best option to decide how we fit into that context.
All right, go ahead, Trina.
I just wanted to say that I do agree with Mexican Condor and Caesar, because I live here in Texas. I live in San Antonio, and the majority of the people that live in this city are Mexican. And the reason why I don't think the blacks here in San Antonio can't really prosper is because we're only 6%. It's like 100,000 black people in this city. So when you're only 5 or 6%, they're not going to really cater to black people in San Antonio. Because let me tell you what has happened. Every time we've had some type of black culture here, it gets taken away. We've had radio stations, and it's we had this one radio station.
When you say it gets taken away, how does it get taken away?
1 minute you have a black radio station, next minute it's gone. We've had two major black radio stations in San Antonio, and both of them are gone. Now we're down to like three hip hop stations. Three hip hop stations. And really here in San Antonio, they don't cater to the black community here at all. It's like you get something, it's gone. We've had clubs. Well, I don't club no more, I'm older, but when I was younger, we had at least 7 black clubs to go to. For anybody could go, but mainly, where African American people, black people go to, that's all gone. And it's like if you get something here, black in San Antonio, it's gone. And then it's all about the Mexicans. And I'm not trying to be rude, but it is. It's like a lot of Tejano stations.
Well, they're the majority.
I know.
It's the same thing. Like here in Atlanta for right now, black people, even though the numbers are shrinking, we're the majority. So, we're kind of, I guess we're catered to the most. So somewhat. Now, white liberals too, but yeah. So yeah.
I'm just reiterating what they're saying is that when you're the majority, they're just going to cater to the majority. And with really now in the 21st century, the black community here in San Antonio has really become real obsolete. So
okay, go ahead, Dean.
Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you are. And Alex, the reason why I took you off because your sound was messed up. But go ahead, Dean.
All right, thanks, Dynast. I love the documentary. I bought it and downloaded it. But I think this is an interesting conversation, and it's really, hopefully, it's opening up people's eyes for the right reason. That what's this guy's name? Condor? Yeah, he's completely for self. Like if you understand his origin story, he's part of the 3 million that got amnestied. He's an illegal. He volunteered that information. So to come in and have this almost audacity to kind of tell black people what they should be doing is interesting. So I hope that everyone understands that it's a zero-sum game. You have to just basically bet on black, all black agenda. There's no black and brown coalition whatsoever. He's basically telling us this right now, and it's not in a sense of disrespect. And I appreciate his honesty, but I just find that interesting. Like the Republicans amnestied 3 million illegal immigrants. The Republicans did this Cuban Adjustment Act where the wet foot, dry foot policy. Like they get all of these hookups and then have the audacity, to almost make it seem like they're doing these things on their own volition. So just peep game, everybody. Like they're just telling us what we should already know.
Somebody in the chat room said that the black population in Atlanta is not shrinking. That's a lie. It was 51% in 2019. Now it's 47% in 2021. So it's shrinking in every major city. Brandon, appreciate the super chat. Dean, you're for self too. He's smart. Let's see here, guys. Links in the chat room. We'll take a couple more callers, and then we'll go ahead and log off. Mexicano, anything else you want to add? And then, like I said, we'll take a couple more callers.
Well, I think everyone should keep in mind that issues of scale. Like I said before, in America, there's about 330 million people. Latin America, there's about 700 million people. Could 100 million Latin Americans immigrate to the United States with the blessing of the political powers that be? Absolutely. And if you let in that many people, it's totally going to change the demographics of places that you think can never be changed. Like I said, Compton is no longer a black Mecca. Neither is Oakland. Neither the West Coast is basically you've diluted yourself out of political relevance, and it can happen anywhere else.
Go ahead, Colin.
Okay, this is what I wanted to say. 80% of the United States population live east of San Antonio, Texas, right? Only 20% of the population live on the west of that, right? Out of all that 20% of the people, most of the people live in California. Rest of this area is unoccupied, right? California, you take away California, and the West Coast, the Western United States don't exist. What I'm getting tired of is people using California to judge all of Black America. On the eastern United States, we got whole Black societies. Rich, poor, middle class, underclass, thriving. Some people not doing so well. You know, to make it seem like all Black people need to bow down and listen to what some illegal Mexican has to say about something, it's so freaking insulting. I don't know why Brandon does that, you know? You know, we got to listen to what we don't give a damn. We got Mexican illegals living here, right? They're very humble because they don't have the numbers. Here in Maryland, Virginia.
Okay, Colin, slow down. You're missing the point. So everything you're saying about the East Coast was once LA, was once Oakland, once San Francisco.
That's not going to happen, bro. You know why? Because Black
Brandon,
people.
Colin, if Black folks keep voting Democrat, it's coming.
Let me say this. Brother Dias. In Virginia, right? We don't really have political parties here, but people don't really know that. There's nobody Republican or Democrat. When people run, okay, you can see he's Republican, you can see he's Democrat. There's really no line. Virginia politics is so highly involved, right? It's like the oldest state in the union. This Black community here is so old and everything. Like it's so well developed, right? There's no real Democrat or Republican party here. It doesn't work. And so therefore, people vote across party lines. A lot of Black people voted for Youngkin this time, you know? We don't see the Democrat, Republican like we see the rest of the country, right? And also, this idea of Latinos, we got to form some bond with Latinos. I don't see that.
Okay, Colin, what's going on in New York right now? In New York City?
All right, New York. Let me tell you something. I wrote about this on my page today. Let me tell you about New York, right? Most of the problem you see in New York is because most of the real New Yorkers like myself have left New York. What you see in New York is a vacuum. You have people coming from California, Chicago, Newark, Philly, filling the vacuum in Virginia. And this is why you see the gangs. This is why you see the explosion of welfare, Section 8 and everything. These are native New Yorkers. The real New Yorkers that built New York and everything, they gone. Like myself, we're gone.
Right. So you're saying what happened in New York won't happen like in Virginia or in DC or the.
Oh well, like I said, Virginia is this state right here. You know, we don't really have a problem with illegal aliens and everything. And Black people here are mostly homeowners and landowners here and stuff like that. This area is pretty much settled. You know, it's not like New York, whatever like that, where we just seem like we're passing through for generations. Black people here in the South area been here for like 400 years. You know, and it's like large Black communities here, and it's thriving. There's Black people here, there's Black colleges here, and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to happen like that. Black people don't vote like on that Democrat thing here. There's no need for it. There's no need for it. You can't show me anything where anybody came here and said we're going to vote Democrat and won. Only this Elaine Laurie chick, right? She won by luck. She got swept in under the anti-Trump thing in 2018. But that's it. For the most part, you know, you can't come here talking about Democrat, Republican. Black people here don't want to hear that stuff. They don't want to hear it. They want to hear what ideas you have. You know, people on the local city council, nobody ever said, come here and show me where somebody says Republican candidate for something. A Democrat, nobody puts a political party on the side. They don't exist there. You know, that's why the lines are skewed between who's a Democrat and a Republican.
So Kyle, you're saying politics don't exist in Virginia.
No, what I'm saying, the national politics don't exist there. That's how people don't understand. Well, how is in Virginia we got all these people that they're supposed to be a blue state? But a lot of people you thought about were blue voted for Youngkin because we like what he was saying. You know, that's the difference between Virginia and these other states out west, you know, and those other places. They're going to keep following Democrat, Republican. Democrat. We don't do that here. A Democrat could win, a Republican will win. It's all about what your ideas are. You know, because in this state, we don't really have, this is like a right-to-work state. There's no freebies here. There's not really a social that you really got to work and survive for yourself. There's no black people freeloading here. There's no white people freeloading here. This is a state where everybody works hard, everybody pays taxes and everything. And that's why I said, even though I didn't like when I first got here, I believe that Virginia is what really made me. Had I stayed in New York, I'd probably be one of them liberal. Yeah, I would probably be one of them liberal Democrat socialists too. But this state made me understand how hard work, family, and all that stuff like that really matters. Because we had to do it. I have a family business that's successful. Me and my brother and my sister, we had to work together, fighting all the time, but we had to make it work. Because the bottom line, nobody in Virginia, nobody gives you shit. You gotta take it for yourself. So if you think Mexicans, everybody's gonna come here and walk here, no, they gotta work hard, and they realize there's not an infrastructure in place where they can just access certain things like free this, free that, free this, free that. It's not like that. Like California got all kinds of
Yeah. But Kala, what's going on when as these states turn blue, they're creating the infrastructure.
Well, I get that. But what I'm saying is this though, for some strange reason, right? Virginia, even though we may go blue, it can even flip back to red. We're more purple. Everybody knows that. People, Virginia, one thing people didn't like was they got rid of the death penalty here. We blue people moved here, got rid of that. And then let me give you another example, Dynas, right? Let me keep you too long. There's some things about the blue that we agreed with, right? Now, a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, right? I do believe in some form of gun control. Because people are coming down here from New York, and my hands are not, I'm not innocent in this, selling guns to people in New York back in the days. And so, therefore, Bloomberg got blue people here to run for office here to stop the gun trade and everything, because the gun trade from Virginia was affecting the crime in New York. New York was getting guns from New York and undesired people from Virginia and all these other states. So therefore, like I said, on that end, I was blue. Now, when it comes to capital punishment, I'm all for capital punishment. But the bottom line, that thing, I knew the gun issue was going to be a problem, and it is.
Okay, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Mexican Condor, what are your thoughts on? Because I heard black people, Kyle saying, I heard the same stuff when I was in California. That this ain't gonna happen. It'll never happen, and then it happened. Same thing's happening in Georgia, all across the South. In Texas, in Houston. Listen, if it wasn't for Nigerians in Houston, same thing would happen in Houston. But what are your thoughts when it comes to what Kyle is saying in regards to like the Northeast?
Well, all I can do is share personal anecdotes and observations, and you can extrapolate from there. But my generation, we all gravitated to the Central Valley in California and the Southwest in general for agricultural jobs. Now, what I see happening in my own family is my family my relatives in Mexico that come here, legally and otherwise, they're gravitating to other parts of the country: Washington State, the Carolinas, Georgia, Missouri, anywhere where there's processing plants, that kind of thing. And so yeah, they're not coming to California and staying in California. They're going everywhere. Now, project that forward 20 years, and
yeah, Mexico, like you said, projected over 20 years. Because even here in Georgia, 20 years ago, when I first came here, the Latino population is nowhere where it is now, like nowhere. And so, I think what Colin said, it ain't gonna never happen in Virginia. I'm like, all right. I mean, I've seen what happened.
Well, hey, guys, let me say this right now. Now, this is a point I want to ask right now. There's two things way of looking at it. One is you look at it as a U.S. citizen, right? You say to yourself, the laws there. Why is the law being enforced? Why is people here illegally enforced, right? And then if the law doesn't enforce it, right, we say, okay, you gravitate towards a politician and say, something, the law's not enforced, I'll enforce that, right? Now, that's maybe yin energy or yang energy. Most black people, that's yin. Okay, if you enforce the law, that's a good thing. Why? Because if I'm driving 20 miles over the speed limit, I'm not going to be able to say, you know something, I don't think the laws should apply. So why should somebody come here and access the United States across the border legally and not the law to apply? So the law has to be a thing. That's a given, right? That being said, as a black person, right, I know a lot of people who are Mexicans and everything, and here and there, I know here they're legally, but I see them with their families. I see them out to dinner. They seem so well respected. They work hard. These guys are just amazing people. I don't see how America could turn away these people who are building families, who are working hard and doing something. Not saying black people aren't doing hard, but here's the thing. Here's the difference, right? Black people have a thing where they want to move to the next generation. I know so many black men who are contractors. They got business and everything. Their sons and daughters don't want to take over the business. They want something else. They want to be NBA stars. They want to be rap stars, right? Well, you always going to need a new class of people coming in doing that hard manual labor. Let me tell you something about my generation, Generation X, right? My generation. We screwed up. You know why? Because someone told us, right, back in the 80s, that you don't want to be a blue collar worker, right? You want to get a college educated. You want to do all this stuff. My Generation X should have spent one more generation in those factories, and those jobs wouldn't have left Gary, Indiana. Those jobs wouldn't have left Detroit, Pittsburgh, and everything. We didn't want that. We wanted to be hip hoppers. We wanted to be rappers. We wanted to be rich. We wanted to be college educated, everything. We looked down upon our working class people, and that now we're sorry. We're like, God damn, my father, uncle, what they was able to do with barely a high school education, built homes, everything. We had more home ownership with blue collar Black America than we ever did than we have right now. But now we see the mistakes of our past. We're falling behind white people. We wanted upward mobility. And the truth was, we needed another generation or two of hard blue collar family building and blue collar worker. And we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now. We should be just now pursuing a higher education and stuff like that because we have a blue collar base to operate in. And that's the truth. So what I'm saying is this: so we made mistakes. We got caught up in the American dream, right? But it's not here to get on and bash Black America like we're just so demons and everything, and we got to praise other people. That's what I'm getting tired of. We made mistakes and we own up to it. But like everybody else, they made mistakes. The Hispanic people make a mistake, right? They tell people to come over here, and we don't know how this is going to turn out for them. And I wish them all the best because I see them. They have families, and you see these children out there, and they're having their fiestas and everything. They look happy and everything. They're happy with very little. You can't get the average, not just black but white person, to be happy with what these people have. They have their families. These guys, man, they got young guys out there. They work a job. They put on a suit and tie and whatnot. They go out and everything. They're the nicest people in the world. And I'm like, damn, man, I would replace them with some of these people in America in a minute. But the law is the law. It is what it is. That's what I want to say. What Mexican Carter have to say about that.
Well, you know what? I really appreciate your acknowledgement of our work ethic, and that's said some very kind things, and thank you for that. However, I think we need to look at it from a broader perspective. What's good for Mexicans individually is bad for Mexicans collectively, because we should have prosperous lives in our own native Mexico, and there's no reason we can't, because Mexico is preposterously wealthy, and it's a notion that people just have for whatever reason, they don't want to accept that notion. I mean, it's embarrassing how many resources we have at our disposal over there that we don't exploit.
Don't you guys have nickel and silver? Mining silver. You guys every year. The two long coasts.
Carl, let them finish. Go ahead, Mexico.
We have the most gold in the world. We have the most silver in the world. We have the most lithium in the world. We have the most petroleum in the world. We have the greatest coastline in the world. We have the longest border with the richest neighbor in the world. We have everything you could possibly ask for to be a nation of spectacular wealth. But as long as Mexicans can just cross the border when they get frustrated, the power structures that prevent us from getting to the level of the first world will not change. So America is doing us a disservice by not holding us accountable. And that's a notion that you don't hear it in the media, and it takes a couple of steps to explain it, and that's why things are the way they are now. I mean, so it really gets under my skin when people insist on categorizing us as poor people. And even in the United States, we're solidly working class. Mom works, dad works, a junior works, sister works, and everyone makes a good, a solid we have solid middle class lives. We own businesses. We are not poor. And it just that I wish people would stop trying to qualify us as poor when we're anything but. So I don't know. I may have strayed from what my original point was, but yeah, please respond to that if you can.
Yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. And what like I said, the problem I see with the Hispanic community, right? My advice for them, right, is they fall prey, to the fact that they have gangs and everything who take advantage of the fact that they might be here illegally. And the fact of the matter is, you have a lot of people who, just like us, right? You work hard. The majority of people work hard, but only takes like 3% of your population to think they're going to become the Mexican mafia or Los Herreños or the what's the MS-13, and that destroys the whole fabric of the community. And like I said, these people work hard. These people work hard, and I don't see black people, black America or white America for the most part, willing to do that sort of work for a couple of generations. But even though, like you said, that can't last forever because they're gonna like, okay, I'm in America, right? I gotta hide my native tongue. I can't be who I am. So this idea that the people that there's this Mexican conspiracy against black people is stupid. You know, common sense will tell you. I know most Mexicans would rather be in Mexico, building Mexico to a first world power. I know that. I know the fact that these people in Central America would rather be in their own country thriving. But like you said, and we got to study the history. Ask yourself this question: why is it that all Japan, right, made sure it invested in all its neighbors to become first world countries, so they could have a flood of people flooding their country? They knew, and they're all Asians. For the United States in this wake, and these people that keep praising America like this is some land of everybody coming. Yeah, we come here, but it's a bleak clusterfuck. Because look at America. America has the sanctions on the powerful neighbors in South Cuba. America has interviewed in Mexican for 100 years. America has created poverty in Central America, poverty in South America. The only country in the Western Hemisphere that's prosperous is Canada. So look at Japan. Look what Japan did with its neighbors. It built up Asia and Southeast Asia during the era and big endogamy powerful yen in the late 80s. And look at America. America has not brought nothing but poverty and misery to the world. And so let's not say like this. So when I see people coming across the border, I know you go down to Honduras, you go to all these countries. It was American meddling, American companies meddling, because the American mind is adolescent. America, the country, is only 200 something years old. These countries like Japan are thousands of years old. So there's a maturity level there. So therefore, we can't say that, oh yeah, Black America this, Black America that, or Hispanic America this, Hispanic America that. We're all living under a system of white European dominance, right? Of course, they're going to favor lighter skinned people that's closer to white people and everything. Now, if I was a Mexican and everything, hey, look, for the short term, they're going to go for it. Hey,
One second, Colin. Mexican Condor, do you guys think about when you're out doing business every day and doing what you need to do, doing what you need to do to feed your families? Are you guys thinking about we're in a white dominated system?
Well, let me tell you about. I'll explain a little bit about our psychology and who we look out for. Like in the workplace, for example, if you of the boss is looking to fill a position. So first person you refer is going to be obviously someone from your own family. Next in line is going to be somebody from your native township. After that, it's going to be somebody from your home states in Mexico, and after that, someone from your region, from a neighboring state. Then it's going to be someone of Mexican nationality. Then after that, it's going to be someone that's Latin American, and then after that, it's whoever else is available. That's how we prioritize who we look out for. So it starts from, it's a concentric circle starting from, your own family and your own community outward. That's how we think. We're not thinking about in terms of I need to find this kind of person or that kind of person, and I need to appease this person or that person. We start local and work local. So
And they're not going after deliberately trying to exclude black people. It's just what it is. What it is. They go for Spanish speaking people. I know for a fact. I told years ago. I said a good business to get into is labor staffing. Right now, you got Mexicans and Spanish speaking people got a premium on legal and illegal labor. Chicago, they can bid. Do you think these people will come over here and just be second class citizens sitting on fire? No, they're moving into. They become the Mexicans and the Spanish speaking labor has become major players in the labor supply market. Something I never hear anybody on YouTube talk about. Labor is one of the most precious resources. If you have skilled labor, you can get stuff done. If anybody's been a contractor before too, the contractor has a deadline. He don't give a damn if you're purple. If you can get the job done, you're getting it, and you can show you can do it. You're getting the contract. And these Mexicans and Central American contractors are not owning their own businesses here, filling in gaps because they can basically they work more efficiently and they can work for less than the American contractors, and that's just the truth. I had farmers from Virginia here tell me they go down to the border and they get workers that come over here. They don't have to worry about somebody quitting because the child support's taking the money out there. They can just pay them and everything. So I don't know. This labor and stuff like that is needed. When the Constitution was written, nobody ever said, so what about people who live across the border and everything? No one ever figured that. America was only 13 colonies. So how is it that these people are indigenous to the region, right? If they're basically this, but you got a border that says the United States, this is why it's hard to deal with this stuff. And so it's hard to deal with it. These people need the labor and everything, and their proximity and everything. So it's always going to be a political issue. But like I said, black people shouldn't get caught up in this. Understand that their labor, they're organized based on their language and everything, and they can compete. And so when you don't get jobs and everything like that, right? What you can do is say, okay, if you feel discriminated against, say, okay, I was discriminated against because I didn't speak Spanish. That happened in Miami a couple of decades ago with black women with the Cubans, and they said, okay, we're discriminated against. And that was the first time it was like a black versus another non-white person. And we don't do that enough. We just say, okay, we're all people of color, and we can't do this. And the discrimination may be deliberate or ill-intentional. But when it's a white business, right, they'll go in and say, let me see your records. How was your hire patterns and everything? We don't do that when it comes to Mexicans. That would solve the problem right there. If there was more oversight and more transparency, and when Mexicans and all these other people have position of power, right, the problem would go away. It would stop nepotism, and it would also help the Mexican community. Because just because somebody's Mexican don't mean they're right for the job. So basic things like that. We got so caught up in this POC, people of color, and everything like that, we forgot the fact that, charity begins at home. We have to take care of our community first. And we have to be empathetic towards our own people first. Before we can be empathetic towards the Mexicans and their plight and everything, we have to be empathetic. Because why? That breeds respect. A Mexican, when you step to them and say, I'm concerned about my community. We're not perfect. We're not angels. We have a lot of dirt with us, but I am concerned about it. They will listen to you and take what you say, and they'll call you brother. Why? Because you're standing up for yourself. Nobody respects somebody that throws their own people under the bus and think they're kissing up to somebody else. It doesn't work like that in the real world. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay. You want to respond, Mexican Condor?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I will say this much in terms of how certain communities are treated by the corresponding authorities. I'll give you an example. Now, in Los Angeles, you have unpermitted food stands everywhere because it's I don't know. I guess considered for for politically correct reasons, we're allowing people to sell, put up food stands without proper hygiene that we would demand of, brick and mortar restaurants and such, as if it's some kind of cultural norm. But if you go 2 hours south into the city of Tijuana, there are no unpermitted food stands. Everything is well regulated. And then isn't it ironic that we're permitting in California what is not permitted in Tijuana because of politically correct cultural sensitivities.
Yep. Yep. And let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Conjure. What do you think about the fact that if you get caught sneaking across the border in Mexico, hell and damnation be upon you? But it's like I heard. Remember, Martin Law said in the movie, he said, "Don't nobody want to go to a Mexican jail," you know. And the bottom line is this: why is it that it's what does it say about America? What it says to me is this, right? People call America a racist country, right? But you have more faith in American values and humanity and virtues than you do other people. No other group, no other country in the world will permit you to flood across their border and then on day one ask for money and go to a city where you got shelter and everything, food and everything, and then complain about the accommodations. No other country in the world. So what that's saying is to the world, America is this place that you could expect. You have expectations of all the stuff where you don't have any place in the world. It's saying America is a superior civilization. Does that sound right to you?
Well, I would say a unique quality about America that doesn't exist anywhere else is that we have in American culture this quality of self-reflection. We look back at every injustice and every inequity in our history, and we self-flagellate ourselves. We beat ourselves up over it day in and day out. And no other society does that. And I think we've taken it too far. Yeah, we have dirty laundry. Show me one society in history that doesn't. Everyone has been the oppressed and everyone has been the oppressor at one point or another. And, and we need to, I think, appreciate where we are relative to, the rest of the world instead of focusing so much on beating ourselves up for past inequities.
Yeah, let me say this. Like you got Zondo or whatever in the chat room. Oh, I came to America I guess he's from Zimbabwe or whatever like that. And it's like, look, nobody. Let me say something, right? I appreciate when people come here and they appreciate. You got to appreciate America for what it is. You have to appreciate Black America, right? Because Black America is very fundamental to what America is right here. You got to appreciate White America, respect White America, Black America, and all the other people that were the Chinese, whoever else helped build this country, and say, look, this is the history and everything. But when you come here, basically entitled, right? And tell the people that whose ancestors built the country, right, that you have no say so over anything. I mean, that leads to trouble. I came to America. Black people in America didn't have nothing to do with it. Where Black people in America did have everything to do with it, because when the civil,
we had this conversation before. Black people don't want power. We just want to just exist here in America.
No, let me say this, brother Dynast, right? No,
so I just honestly think that the whole hanging over immigrants' head, how we built this country in 2022.
No, I'm saying I don't think we do. Most Black people don't, right? Somebody like me will point that out when people get out of pocket, right? But most Black people really don't care about that. They're just like, they're coming here just like I do, just like back in the days, right? People don't realize this, right? When they asked white workers, when Black people picketed for union jobs, right? They thought they were going to get the white workers down there and be like, oh man, busting heads and everything. You know what the white workers said? Look, we're getting shitted on by the people who own these corporations and everything. And goes, and they want us to fight against the Black man who just wants to feed his family and everything like that. So they were shocked at the fact that the average white person didn't really give a damn if Black people join the union, as long as they're getting fed and they're getting their job. They say, yeah, they have every right to. They're here in this country. You call them American citizens, everything. So therefore, like I said, the narrative is that Black people want to call it Black people. I want the best for Black immigrants and Hispanic immigrants. I want the best for them. If they want to do something like we're all human beings, we're all trying to make it in this world. But the problem is, right, when someone comes in and tries to be divisive, right, and for no reason, right, Black America feel like it's being under attack. Like Candace Owens, right? She goes, this witch says that oh yeah, they hate when I bring up Black immigrants test scores. What about the Black people who are succeeding in test scores and doing well? So no Black people in America. So in other words, basically, you don't use that when it comes to attacking white people. The biggest complainers in America right now are white people. The biggest people on drugs, meth, and everything are white people. The highest crime rate increase in America, gun violence, and everything is among white Americans, right? Divorce rate, suicide rate, teen pregnancy, all their numbers are going up, right? But when people say that make America great again, and Trump says we're going to solve all these problems, everything like that, right? No one ever says, look at the Mexicans, how they doing well. No one says, look at the Black immigrants, because everybody knows that white is a natural entitlement. You don't ever use immigrants to butt against white people when they're complaining about something in this country, because you in your mind and we all know it's their country. But when it's Black people say this is not fair, this is not right, and everything, the first thing they do is, "Oh, I don't see these Africans complaining about it. I don't see these Mexicans complaining about it." You never do that. They never do that with white people. Why? Because they know for a fact that white people can have everything. They can have everything. They can be in the middle of suburbia, yelling their mouth off and everything like that. Got everything. Got cars, money in the bank, and everything, and they're still not happy. Somebody will go to them and try to placate them. You see that on the Republican campaign trail, Democrat placate. You got white people who are angry. What do you got? You got everything. You're in white middle America. You got everything. You're on top of the world. But people will still try to appease them. And usually it means appeasing them means throwing Black people under the bus. That's what you had with the crime bill of 1994. Joe Biden basically went to white America, right? And said, look, yeah, I know y'all hate niggas. We hate niggas too. But you elect people, Democrats in power and everything, I'm going to give you this crime bill. And white people, because they saw movies like Colors, they saw the LA riots. Yeah, protect me from these Black people. And they're living in Iowa, not even around Black people. So what I'm trying to say today is this. I'm sick and tired of us joining in on the destruction of our own community. And the degradation. We got problems that we can solve because we're intelligent people. And I appreciate this Mexican brother here dialoguing with us. That's what we need more of. Not sitting here bashing one group of people, or worse, us bashing ourselves. It's not going to solve a problem.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity to speak in this forum because it's a dialogue that you're not going to see it in the mainstream media. They address us separate and apart. It's never us speaking to each other directly. I mean, so yeah, this is I'm glad this forum exists.
Yes. So like I said, that's great that you have. Like I said, I just want to clear the air. Like there's no tension between Black and brown, everything like that. There's nothing attention. Just that basically we just have to be mindful. We're both people of color and everything like that. But we also know that just like you guys have colorism, we have colorism. We got classism. Things will take, but we have to know how to watch each other's backs. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the Hispanic community in my area, I know a lot of them here illegal. I watch out for them. And guys are always, hey, how you doing? Everything like that. And the bottom line for the most part was rednecks and everything. Everybody treats them with respect. The Black people treat them with respect. They do work and everything. They become part of the community, they're part of the culture. How this is going to turn out in the future, we don't know. But for the most part, they're here. They're raising families. We see them out there. They got a house and they're so happy and everything. Well, most Black people and white people, right? We're happy, but we're not that happy. You know what I mean? I mean, really, when you see Mexicans and everything, these people are happy. And when it comes down to it, folks, let me say this within my last statements, right? It's all about happiness. How can you be happy? Whether it's building on the African continent, whether it's staying in America, are you happy? Right? Because I'm seeing now that no matter what people do, no matter how much money people have, they can't be happy. But when I see these Mexicans, right, who cross the border, matter of fact, my cleaning lady, my maid, right? My maid is from Guatemala. She got her whole we don't say yeah, I'm bringing my mother up next month. I know what she means. She's bringing her across the board. She got to go down to the border. But she runs a good business, right? She runs a good business, right? And I gave her a lot of my clients and whatnot, my friends and whatnot. She cleans the house and everything like that. But nice people, just nice people. She said, yeah, I got to bring my family up there, and she got a little sister up here now that works for her and everything. And so the bottom line is this, though, it is what it is. I know what the law says and everything like that, but I'm not going to be. The law once said that black people were slaves and black people were no good, and black people got to sit in the back of the bus. So we don't know. We don't know what the thing that. All I know is you just do your part, right, and be happy. And these people are so happy. And being in America brings so much joy to them and everything. Who am I to stand in the way of that? That's the way I see it. I mean, these people are happy. I don't see when I see about black people. They got money, they got cars, they got everything, and they're still not happy. And then I see some poor black people who are really happy.
I got to
You know,
ask a question real quick. Hey, Mexican Condor, and then we'll close out. All right. So somebody in the chat room, and we kind of talked about this before. Um, you have certain groups of people. I mean, I'm sorry. You have people in the black community that say, people like yourself got a free ride off of our struggles. What are your thoughts when people make comments like that?
Well, to the degree that it's true, I say thank you. But where do where is that going to take you? Okay, we acknowledge your struggle. We are, thankful for your contributions. But accolades, don't really matter. It's not going to get you to the next level. Now, I want to address something, the issue of happiness, and I think.
Okay, so then another thing too, Mexicans, they'll also say that people like yourself are eating off the table that black folks built. What are your thoughts on that? Comments like that?
As someone who worked the earth literally with my own hands, I don't know what you expect from us. I really.
No, that's what they be saying, that y'all ate eating off our plates. Yeah, there we go. You eating off black folks' plates. Like, what are your thoughts on comments like that?
Well, if you want to eat at the table, you're going to have to serve yourself. And don't expect someone to put the food on your plate for you. Then that's what everyone who comes here as an immigrant knows, that they're going to have to serve themselves. Now,
I agree.
Now, as far as happiness goes, I just want to address it really quick before we close out. I think Americans are consumed by consumerism. You've replaced family with gadgets and doodads and things and material things that don't really make you happy. Our pleasure is having the family over at the house on the weekend and everyone cooking for everybody. Grandma making the tortillas. The uncles digging the fire pit to cook the goat in, and everyone indulging in each other's company. And everyone needs to get back to that. We were social animals. How are you going to replace the good that comes from being social with material things? You can't. And that's why everyone is feeling hollow, despite having the privileges that the rest of the world can't even imagine.
You're absolutely right, brother. And like I said, I wish Diners would have you back on. And the bottom line is this. Let me tell you something, right? You can have all the houses, cars, all this other. If you don't have family, I've learned that. My family is the most important thing to me. Every weekend we're doing something. We run a business together. We're always at this. A couple weeks ago, my niece's wedding was there. Had a ball. And every weekend we have a backyard pool. We got a fire pit. We're playing movies outside. We're drinking. We're playing poker. Everybody's stopping by and everything. People coming down from New York. We're always doing something. Family and all that stuff makes it all worthwhile. What I'm seeing now is these communities, in our communities, we don't have that sense of family, right? And we look at black immigrants, right? And we resent that.
My Liberian people, oh my God, man. You see them, they're always happy. They're always engaging and everything. They're always doing stuff like that. When you look at the conversation in Black America, right? You know, we're talking about skin tone. We're talking about passport bros. We're talking about all this divisive stuff that goes on, tearing us apart. And nobody says, okay, well, I'm happy. I'm happy. If you say you're happy, they'll come at you and think you're something crazy. Well, if you can be a Pan African, you can be whatever you want. You can be say like we need a nation in Africa, we need Africa. But in the meantime, you should find some sort of happiness in your immediate life, and it starts with your family. You know, far as my family. When I see the Mexicans and everything, and the Black immigrants, and they're happy and everything, I think these people provide a template of what we could basically be happy with. You know, and say, well, these people, he works a job, she works a job, they got kids. Every weekend, these guys got the aunts over and everything. They seem happy and everything. While you're sitting there in your house lonely and everything, these immigrants are coming over here, and that's what their ADOS FBA movement is. It's resentment, you know, that nobody's speaking to you, that these people are getting along in America. They know how to get along with whites. They know how to get along with other people. And we basically feel left out. And these people should acknowledge us because we paved the way for all this, you know? And that's where it comes from. It comes from a deep resentment, right? And the whole thing is Black America has to learn to start loving us. Like I said earlier, I said, look, the biggest mistake we did was we did not spend another generation in the blue collar trades to build those families. You know, had we done that, we would be better off right now. The Mexicans are coming over here. They're gonna give like a couple of generations as contractors and people getting their hands dirty. But look what they have in the meantime. They're buying homes. You know, they're having their daughters and sons' weddings and everything. They're happy. That's what it's all about. Happiness is always a guidance. You know, a steers you, a navigation towards the future. The pursuit of happiness. You know, and that's what America is based on. Life, liberty, and what? The pursuit of happiness, not the
Absolutely.
pursuit of misery.
What we'll do, Mexican, anything else you want to say in closing, then we'll close out.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that was just said. And yeah, the key to happiness is the social glue that binds us all together. It's not material things.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Peace.
Peace out.